There is a number that stopped me cold. 26. 26 systematic reviews, 21 different health conditions, 2 years of synthesis, and the conclusion, a practice that has been around for over 400 years just became one of the most rigorously validated therapeutic tools in modern medicine. I am talking about Tai Chi, and after today's conversation, I promise you will never look at those slow, graceful movements the same way again. Welcome to the Wellness Bridge. I am Gary Chen, physiotherapist, integrative health practitioner, and your host where Eastern wisdom and Western science meet. Today I have an extraordinary guest. Dr. Michael Lim is an exercise physiologist and clinical movement researcher who has spent more than 20 years studying integrative approaches to rehabilitation. He has worked across hospital systems, community health, and academic research, and he is one of the few clinicians who can read a Cochrane review in the morning and lead a Tai Chi class in the afternoon. Michael, welcome to the show.
Gary, thanks for having me. That is genuinely one of my favorite descriptions of my work I have ever heard.
I meant every word of it. Right, let's get into it. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Tai Chi has an image problem, doesn't it? Most people picture elderly people moving slowly in a park. It doesn't exactly scream evidence-based medicine.
I hear that constantly, and the tragic irony is that perception is keeping people away from one of the most powerful rehabilitation tools we actually have. The slowness is not a limitation. The slowness is the medicine.
Say more about that.
When you move with deliberate, sustained attention, slowly, with intention, you activate proprioceptive pathways at a much deeper level than rapid exercise. Proprioception is the nervous system's awareness of where your body is in space, moment to moment. Tai Chi essentially trains the brain and body to communicate more precisely. That is not a soft philosophical claim. That is supported neuroscience.
And this is exactly why we are talking about it today. Because a landmark white paper was just released, a collaboration anchored at Harvard Medical School's Osher Center for Integrative Health. They reviewed 26 systematic reviews on Tai Chi and Qigong across 21 different adult health conditions. 2 of those reviews came back with high certainty of benefit. 16 with moderate certainty. That is an extraordinary level of evidence for any single therapeutic modality.
It is a depth of evidence we rarely see from movement-based therapies, full stop. And it spans conditions that most people would never connect with Tai Chi: depression, diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, and fall prevention.
I want to make sure our listeners understand what those certainty levels actually mean clinically.
High certainty of evidence means the research is robust enough that further studies are unlikely to change the conclusion. The effect is real, it is repeatable, and it is clinically meaningful. In the world of evidence-based medicine, where pharmaceutical trials often hold the highest bar, Tai Chi just cleared it for 2 major conditions, hypertension and osteoporosis. That should be headline news in every GP's waiting room.
Let's walk through the numbers. Pain first, because that is where most of my patients live every single day.
The pain data is the strongest in the evidence base. A meta-analysis of randomized controlled trials found that Tai Chi produced a standardized mean difference of -0.54 for osteoarthritis pain. For chronic low back pain, -0.81. For osteoporosis pain, -0.83. In clinical terms, those are the numbers that represent someone who was waking up every morning dreading the first step out of bed, now being able to move with dignity and confidence.
Those effect sizes rival what we see from pharmaceutical interventions, and without any of the side effect profile.
And critically, these were not comparisons against no treatment. These were active controls against standard physical therapy, against structured stretching programs. Tai Chi still came out ahead or matched them in most trials. That is clinically significant.
What about falls? This is one of the biggest clinical risks I face working with older adults. A fall can be life-changing or life-ending.
A network meta-analysis, 17 studies, 3,470 participants, compared different Tai Chi styles specifically for fall prevention in older adults. Yang style and Sun style Tai Chi consistently produced the strongest outcomes when you simultaneously train balance, postural control, reactive stability, and proprioception, which is what Tai Chi does in every single repetition. You build the kind of neuromuscular resilience that catches people before they hit the floor.
In what most people underestimate is the psychological dimension of falls. The fear of falling changes everything. Activity levels drop, confidence collapses, social participation shrinks. A person can go from independent to isolated in a matter of months.
Exactly. And that is the perfect bridge into the mental health data, because this is where the evidence gets truly compelling. A 2025 meta-analysis of 37 randomized controlled trials, nearly 3,000 older adults, found that Tai Chi produced significant improvements in both anxiety and depressive symptoms. And what is now clinically sophisticated about this research is that they identified an optimal therapeutic dose, 500 to 700 minutes per week. That roughly translates to 3 to 4 60-minute sessions per week.
So it is not just move more. There is an actual dose-response relationship that clinicians can prescribe from.
Precisely. The evidence has matured to the point where we can offer genuine clinical dosing guidance. That is the same level of specificity we expect from exercise physiology for cardiac rehabilitation. Tai Chi has arrived at that same standard.
And here is what I find most extraordinary about all of this. Tai Chi was never designed as a treatment for osteoarthritis. It was not created to manage blood pressure or to prevent falls or to treat depression. It was designed as a practice for cultivating what traditional Chinese philosophy calls Qi, the life force, the energy that flows through and animates all living things. The health outcomes were considered a natural consequence of living in alignment with that flow.
It is a profound paradox, isn't it? The ancient practitioners understood something deeply real about the relationship between slow, intentional movement and well-being. They simply lacked the vocabulary of Western biomedical science to articulate it. And now, 4 centuries later, we have built that vocabulary, and it confirms what they knew.
I think about this constantly with my patients. The biopsychosocial model, the framework that says pain and healing are not purely physical events, but are shaped by psychology, by social connection, by meaning and purpose. Tai Chi addresses all 3 dimensions simultaneously. The movement addresses the biological. The mindful attention addresses the psychological. The group class context addresses the social. No single drug or surgical procedure does that.
And that is precisely why Tai Chi outperforms standard physiotherapy in clinical trials when both are tested rigorously. Standard physiotherapy has historically focused on the physical dimension in relative isolation. A 2024 systematic review in PM&R found that interdisciplinary biopsychosocial interventions consistently produced better outcomes for disability and pain than standard physiotherapy alone. Tai Chi, by its very nature, is a biopsychosocial intervention. It was designed that way. It just took Western science a few centuries to catch up.
There is a Taoist concept I return to often, Wu Wei, effortless action. The idea that the most transformative forces in nature are not the forceful ones. Water carves stone not through impact, but through patient, persistent, gentle flow. Tai Chi is the physical embodiment of Wu Wei, and the science is now confirming what 400 years of practitioners already understood in their bones.
That is beautifully said, and it is precisely the reason I have given my career to this work.
Let us make this actionable. If someone listening right now is managing chronic knee pain, or worried about their balance as they age, or struggling with anxiety and poor sleep, what do they actually do with this?
3 things. Number 1, start with Yang style or Sun style Tai Chi. These are the 2 styles with the strongest and most consistent evidence for falls prevention and musculoskeletal conditions. Find a qualified instructor or look for a reputable online program. The research on virtual delivery now shows sustained outcomes at 1 month post-treatment. You do not need to be in a park.
Number 2.
Commit to the therapeutic dose. The research is clear. You need a minimum of 12 weeks to see meaningful clinical change, and ideally 3 to 4 sessions per week. It does not have to be a full class every time. 20 minutes of deliberate practice at home counts. The variable that drives outcomes is consistency, not perfection.
And number 3, from me as a clinician, stop treating Tai Chi as an alternative to physiotherapy and start integrating it alongside physiotherapy. At GC Integrative, we are weaving Tai Chi principles directly into our rehabilitation protocols because the evidence says it accelerates recovery and dramatically improves long-term functional outcomes. The 2 approaches are not competing, they are complementary by design.
That is the future of rehabilitation medicine, not a handout of exercises and a 2-week follow-up, a whole-person treatment plan where the patient's biology, psychology, and social context are all addressed, where Eastern tools and Western science are both on the prescription.
And what would you say to the person who is still skeptical, who still thinks this is not real medicine?
I would say, read the white paper. 26 systematic reviews, 21 conditions, high and moderate certainty of benefit across the board. The evidence has done the work. Your skepticism is understandable, but it is now outdated.
There is something I keep returning to in all of this. The ancient traditions, traditional Chinese medicine, Taoist philosophy, Ayurveda, they were not guessing. They were observing carefully over centuries with rigor that simply looked different from ours. And now, in 2026, we have the scientific language to say with confidence, they were right.
And that is not a statement against Western medicine. It is an invitation to broaden the frame. The very best healthcare of the next century will not be Eastern or Western. It will be integrative by default.
Dr. Michael Lim, thank you. This is the kind of conversation that changes how people see their own healing. To everyone listening, save this episode. Share it with someone managing chronic pain, worried about their balance, dealing with anxiety or insomnia. The evidence is in. The practice is accessible. And the bridge between ancient wisdom and modern proof is wider open than it has ever been.
Thank you, Gary. Keep building that bridge.
I'm Gary Chen. Remember, together we find balance in one. Take care of yourselves.